Ever since I started working, I was someone who always hopped around the job market. I found jobs really unfulfilling and I found them extremely boring, or they were just too easy to learn. They made my mind go numb because there was just literally nothing to do most of the time, or there was just a bunch of busy work that required basically just, the most simplest tasks over and over again. And I couldn't understand how people were able to do this for 50 to 60 years without wanting to blow their brains out. Or most of the time, I was just on my phone doing absolutely nothing and doom scrolling, which definitely didn't even help me either. And personally, I think I was on my phone more at a corporate job than I am being, unemployed and stuff because I know how to keep myself busy and some people don't know how to do that. But, anyways, I was someone who switched jobs quite frequently because I always wanted something new and I wanted to keep my brain moving and always wanted to keep learning something. And corporate jobs just don't allow that amount of space for something like that. And job hopping seems like it's going to be the norm nowadays, or at least people are starting to do it more often because people realize that the corporate world can't just jail you and shackle you as much as they were able to. And we also have, all these like job markets are on our phone now, or we can apply to literally anything with a few clicks of a button. So honestly, job hopping is becoming more relevant nowadays because no one wants to work for a corporate world or they want more money or something along those lines. And I believe job hopping is going to be the new norm for most people nowadays. And the first reason I want to talk about this is because of finances. A lot of reasons that people want to leave their job is because they feel like they're not being paid or they're being underpaid. And this is a new thing, especially nowadays, is that at least when I was watching a few YouTube videos, a lot of people will job hop because they can get a raise for the same job and maybe even less obligations. The hardest part is actually finding a new job and getting hired in this day and age because I know the job market is a little bit, it's ass right now, but most people are going to leave their job for the same one that is going to pay more, which is just, basic logic. And it's not even like a couple $1,000s. It's like moving, you're like going from like 10 to 20K more for some of these listings, which is absolutely crazy for me. And whether you're in a management position, engineering, or like software developer, or anything along those lines, or whatever it is, I suggest kind of looking at the job market kind of frequently just to see if you can jump ship and go to another company that pays more. Of course, always read the job listing and see if it's actually worth it because you might be doing a lot more than you're used to. And sometimes it's not a big problem because you're going to be learning new things anyways. It just seems like this is a new way of getting a raise now. Plus, you can start a new job that actually has less obligations and more pay, which is actually crazy to me because most of these companies ask you to do more of the same thing without actually getting a raise. And I don't really understand how that works because you think that if you do more work, you're going to get a raise. But most of the time, they're just asking for more work and like more overtime or something like that. Like, no wonder why job hopping is becoming more relevant because no one wants to do more work without getting without a pay raise or anything along those lines. Understanding that these companies are just not really worth it anymore. Also, people switch companies for better benefits as well. I have one of my friends that did this. He's actually a mechanic and he switched jobs because he was, I think he was working for more like a like mom and pop shop or whatever, and they just didn't really have benefits at that place he was working at. So he'd got a little bit of a pay cut and moved to a different place, and now he has good benefits. But I suggest, considering he's a mechanic, I mean, if he does stay there for a while, he could probably like go up to like a master mechanic or something along those lines and actually move to like another company where they do have good pay and good benefits. But I'm not living his life, and maybe I should just give him a suggestion. Maybe I don't know how long he's been working there or anything like that, but I think that's just something a lot of people are starting to do is just moving for better benefits and better pay. Another reason people are leaving is because the company work is just it just sucks. Like, I don't know, a lot of people are moving because of their well-being and like mental health and all that stuff. And it's funny when people talk about the whole mental health thing is because there are companies like you know what, screw your mental health, blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like, I'm like, dude, if I am miserable at this job, I'm not going to be doing anything that I want. I'm not going to even be trying at this job. I hate to break it to you. And everyone has had those jobs where you have a fucking manager where they're just like, they're terrible managers or the coworkers are just really annoying and a lot of drama. And you kind of just had to suck it up and be a bootlicker. But nowadays, you can just definitely just jump ship if you do not like the company. You might have to suck it up for a little bit before you find a new job, Or if you just want to be unemployed, go ahead, which most people don't really want to do because that is a big stressor of people's life. And I know a lot of people have had that manager who basically does not have life outside of work. So the only thing that they do is just micromanage everyone to the point of exhaustion. And those people who don't have a life outside of work are honestly the most miserable people I've ever talked to. And they just don't have anything going for them besides this job. And that's like their whole personality. And honestly, every time I've talked to them, they're just a bunch of they're big losers. And I don't know how else to put it, is that they're losers. And at this point, managers are starting to turn into big brothers at this point and watching everyone's single move. So honestly, I feel like we should just replace managers with a camera to satisfy shareholder value, right? But honestly, we probably don't need more cameras more than we need to, right? Because we have flock cameras. And actually, I was at this last job and they put a camera in my cubicle and I got up and left. But that is totally a topic for a different video. Um, Not to mention, most coworkers are awful, even though I've made a lot of friends through job hopping recently. And let's be real, most of the time, most of those coworkers don't actually turn into friends. And that's just kind of how it is. When you definitely go into a corporate world, there's so much unnecessary drama that happens through the workforce. Like, it's just kind of interesting to watch people because you see like married people like cheating all the time, or they're definitely flirting with other coworkers and stuff like that. The whole like what is it, work wife work husband thing is definitely true. And it's kind of crazy to watch sometimes because you're like, wow, these people are married. But I don't know, there's also a lot of managers who talk shit about people who are under them. That was definitely what happened at my last job. I had a manager who just talked shit about people who were, which was kind of interesting because I was at a sales job, and a lot of managers definitely get more money through headcount or through our revenue. And the fact that you're talking shit about people who are earning you more money is crazy to me. And I don't even know how you're a manager because he didn't really do anything either. Sometimes I think manager positions are completely pointless, but I don't know. At this point, you should just work from home and not even go in the office if you can. If you are someone who can actually have the chance to work from home, then I would suggest doing it. If you can actually do that and enjoy it. And the last thing I kind of want to talk about very briefly is the growth kind of aspect of things, is that you can grow much quicker if you decide to switch jobs because climbing the corporate ladder takes a long time nowadays. And most people don't want to wait to get a new position at a company when they can just hop and get a new position. I suggest making your resume as, such, and that you're kind of like trying to get a new position and stuff like that. And voila, you have a new position with better pay. Only if things were that easy to actually get a new job was just update your resume, but most of the time it is not. Most of the time it is, always putting a bunch of applications, or you need to know certain people and nepotism and stuff like that. I just understand that climbing the corporate ladder is not the way to do life anymore. And most of the time, people don't even want to climb the corporate ladder anymore. At least my generation realized that working for a corporation is just a bunch of bullcrap. And most of us would rather just be poor and live our life as much as we can than to, be a bootlicker and kiss these people on the cheek half the time. The only thing that I understand is that there's much more opportunities out there and there's quicker ways to do things nowadays. And we have the internet at our fingertips. You just have to go on god awful LinkedIn or Indeed or whatever it is you need to do to find a new job. The old way of doing things and climbing up the corporate ladder is just not the way to do things anymore. And I totally understand that because this stuff is a bunch of bullcrap. Literally, no one wants to work for their entire lives just to be not even get paid a pension anymore. Like, nobody wants to deal with being underpaid anymore, dramatic coworkers, or having to wait 10 years just to get a raise or a new position in the company. If companies want us to keep working there, then they should keep up with the times and kind of understand how our generation likes to work. But they don't like that because they just think we're lazy, and which is definitely not true. I feel like Gen Z and stuff like that, where are the most entrepreneurial, types of people, and we realize that all of this is bullcrap and that we don't want to work for people who are going to treat us like such, and they have to deal with the consequences because they were just given everything at their point. So suck it up, boomers. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching. This was a track I was working on, and kind of let me know your thoughts in the comments and support me if you want. Everything is in the description, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.